Hi everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Fast Foundations, where I pander to your short attention span and answer one corset related question per week. And this week I'm going to address the question of whether you can actually just turn around one of these normal corsets and wear it backwards so that you can have a front lacing corset. Will it work the same way, and will it cinch your waist in? I'm going to show you why that is probably not the best of ideas. So right now I'm wearing a longline underbust corset. You can see that it has a nice flat tummy here. The paneling here helps to keep the tummy quite flat and supported. The bust here is quite rigid to keep the profile quite flat. And also, actually, these laces here, the bones in the back by the grommets, they're still flat bones, but they are slightly less rigid than the front and bust, so that it supports the grommets, so that it doesn't do any crazy bowing actions when you're cinching down, but it still, you can see it curves to the lumbar area of your spine. So what happens when I turn this around and try to wear it as a front lacing corset? So of course my camera battery had to die just as I was doing this, so this is what it looks like when you lace a corset front to back. Please don't mind the fact that this is kind of crooked because one side of the underbust of this corset is larger than the other side. But anyways, so this is what it looks like. It's not particularly uncomfortable, but the contouring around the, this is supposed to be the underbust and this is supposed to be contouring over the lap there. It looks a little bit ridiculous in the back, and because of that, the back is a little bit, or because of that, the front here is a little bit higher. So if you had a shorter torso than I did, it would probably push up on your bust. When you try to sit down, it will probably dig in further because it's a little bit longer from waist to bottom there as well. Other things that I feel, the pressure around the hips is a little bit awkward for me. I feel that there's a little bit more pressure in the front and less in the back compared to when I wear it right way around. Because the bust is more rigid, it's not conforming to the lumbar area of my spine. So it's not holding me in a regular posture. It's sort of forcing my spine to straighten out. And so it almost makes me hunch over a little bit because it's not curving along my lower back there. And because this area is a little bit less rigid, I feel that it's bowing just very slightly a little bit, and so I don't know if I continue to wear it this way, if it would start to not support my lower tummy, which could, give you the risk of getting some lower tummy pooch. And it's kind of strange, but I almost feel like a little bit out of breath when I'm wearing it this way. So let me move on to a shorter hipped corset that might look a little bit less ridiculous with the contouring in the back. Alright, so here is a slightly shorter underbust corset. It's not long line, it cuts over the iliac crest here. This is what it looks like when it's the right way forward. There's still a little bit of contouring in the top here. You can see that the paneling in the center front, it tapers down towards the lower tummy to give you that extra support there. And once again, the bones in the back are a little bit, just very slightly less rigid than the bust in the front, just to give a little bit of a curve over the lower spine there. But these bones are less flexible than the one in the previous corset I showed you. So I'm curious to see if this would actually give fairly similar support from back to front. Okay, so this is what the standard length or the short hipped underbust looks like when worn from back to front. So it's a little bit less noticeable from the front, but because of the contouring here that's supposed to be under the breast there, it looks still pretty ridiculous in the back. Once again, I'm noticing that it's not actually conforming to the lumbar area of my spine. I can actually feel that there's a gap there between my lumbar spine and where the bust is. There's an actual gap underneath the corset there. In the front, because these bones are a little bit less bendy than in the other corset, I actually feel a little bit more supported in the tummy area compared to the previous corset, even though the previous corset was longer. But it still feels a little bit awkward because where the shape of the panels all conform towards the center front there, it takes the pressure off of the hip bone and it puts the pressure onto the lower tummy. So I'm actually feeling a little bit more pressure around my hips here and less pressure around the tummy area. So, I mean, it's a little bit of an improvement compared to the longline corset, but it's still not fully there. What we need if we were going to wear a corset back to front is something that is almost completely identical or symmetric from front to back. So now let's try a really short cincher where all the panels are almost identical. Okay, so here is my shortest cincher. So here's what it looks like the right way around. The paneling is almost identical from front to back in this corset, and it's only 4 panels per side, 2 in the front and 2 in the back. So theoretically it shouldn't be that much different apart from perhaps the feeling of the busk in the back and the laces in the front. So let's see how that works. And here's what the corset looks like when worn from front to back. So I think, well, in terms of actually getting away with it, the cincher would probably be the one that's the least conspicuous that you're wearing it back to front. Although anybody who wears a corset regularly and knows what a busk is will know that you're supposed to wear it in the front. So maybe you could wear a jacket over it or something. I do feel a little bit of discomfort when wearing this front to back though. The busk here, it's still not laying flat to my lumbar curve, and actually with the length of this one, it is just poking into the tailbone area. And another thing that I noticed is that I'm getting a lot of pressure around my back hip area here, right along the iliac nerve actually, and in the front here a little bit less support in the very lower tummy, like just right there, so it might be short by perhaps an inch. Also, when I was lacing this up, I had noticed that there was a tendency for the bones to want to bow in this direction because there's not very much support around the tummy. But one thing that I recommend if you're wearing a corset back to front, or even if you're going to get a genuine front lacing corset, either request a stiffened modesty panel or make a stiffened modesty panel, because when you have, say, a 4-inch gap in the front there, all your flesh in your tummy is going to want to spill out through the laces. You see that in some of my previous lacing videos where I had my genuine front lacing corset. I eventually had to make a very stiff modesty panel to go underneath those laces and give that support, because you don't want your tummy to be sort of oozing out all over the place. So can you wear a corset back to front? Well, yes, I just demonstrated that you can, but it's really not the most comfortable because corsets are drafted specifically to fit you front to back. You're not completely perfectly symmetric between your front side and your back side. You have things like your organs and tummy pooch to take care of in the front. You have to take care of supporting the lumbar curve in the back and avoiding problems with the back hip and the tailbone and the bum area. So I would not recommend wearing a corset from back to front like this. If you really want a front lacing corset, if you have limited mobility in your arms and you just can't reach around the back, then actually find a corseteer that's willing to make you a custom front lacing underbust. So I hope this helped you guys, and I will see you all next week for another video. Bye.